I think the hardest part of creating the human figure is giving it a sense of life. I think a lot of the life-giving aspect of a figure is in the posture. We knew we wanted King Tut to be in the chariot with a whip in his hand, just about to take off with his team of horses.
King Tut is important because of his tomb. The real excitement was because it was essentially an unlooted tomb. We know from his mummy that he was only 19 or 20 at the most when he died. Craig actually created his own computerized versions of what King Tut looked like.
Well, he has a very unique skull shape. It's elongated. And we're not sure if that was done at a time when he was a baby, when the skull was still soft, or if it was genetics, because his father had the same shaped skull. Well, I sculpted his skull inside this head using the CT scans they did in Cairo in 2006. The first step is you put tissue markers onto the skull. They just glue them on. Then you build out the tissue to that depth. And the second method used is to actually sculpt the muscles of the face onto the skull. The war helmet is sculpted right onto King Tut's skull, and it's made of kind of a rough sculpture of styrofoam covered with clay, and then all the little brads were attached to the outside.
He was not terribly tall. No Egyptians were generally. The average male Egyptian was only about 5'6", 5'7".
We did some research trying to find a body double for King Tut. We brought him in and did a body scan of this person.
How we do that is we have the person wear like a Lycra suit, and then we encase the whole body in plaster bandages.
You can't hear, you can't really breathe very well. You get little straws coming out of your nose. It takes getting used to. I've been cast 4 times and it's not so bad now.
We take the parts after they're set, we take them apart, let the person get out of the cast, put it back together again, and use plaster bandages to encapsulate the mold. That's then the mold. And so the mannequins are actually foam. And then skin texture and everything like that is cast differently with a different material to capture pores and wrinkles and things like that.
But we had the Greek hoplite that we had done in the early 90s. Now that was a combination in-house project and out-of-house project. We made the human figure and the face here in Milwaukee in this museum.
They cast my brother. He's pretty strong guy, and they modeled the figure after him, and so he was all ready to go.
But all the armor and the weaponry that he carries was made in England by an armorer who we contracted with, and he worked with specimens from the British Museum.
When this exhibit came up and Carter wanted to do this Persian archer, somebody just thought, well, let's have the Shea brothers going to battle in this exhibit. And so I'm the Persian archer and my brother is the Greek hoplite, and we're staring each other down.
The idea was to make the Persian just on the verge of battle. So we made a cast and a mold of an actual living person. And then I altered his face to look more like an ancient Persian.
And one interesting thing is not only do they dress completely differently, they wear pants for one thing. The Greeks did not wear pants. No matter how many times you've seen Kevin Sorbo play Hercules on TV, the Greeks did not wear pants. There's a lot of Greek pottery that shows depictions of Persians. We can't know the real colors, obviously. Most of the pots are in just muted colors, but they do have these chevron patterns. They have polka dot patterns, stripe patterns.
Fabrics during this period of time were very much natural fabrics, a lot of linen, little bit of wool maybe. A lot of the fabrics in Egypt were not dyed. Only the royalty would have fabrics that were dyed because it would be so expensive.
I think doing a life cast lends a lot of realism to the figure. You get all the skin detail and all the musculature the way it would be in a living person.
That's really neat. You learn a lot about one particular period of time or one particular subject matter. It's good, and it's you're cheerleading for your friends who are doing a really good job. It's neat to see how collaborating can make something really special.